totally buried in responsibility and burnt out on showing up? Been there. And I created this totally free bundle of resources for you. You have to get the Get Started Guide if you haven't already. If you're ready to strip off the unnecessary baggage and limiting beliefs you've been carrying around, if you're so done making things more difficult than they need to be, if you're ready for guilt-free rest and enjoyment in your life, you need the Get Started Guide. This instant download is full of my favorite resources: the Mindset Makeover, the Stress Less Toolkit, and my super trendy and adorable kitchen templates to make meals and groceries a little bit simpler and a whole lot prettier. The Get Started Guide is made up of tools and practices to help you cope with stress and anxiety. And because so much of your happiness is determined by your mindset, this instant download is what you need to start thinking about the way that you think, so you can overcome what's overwhelming you, take control of your days, and love the life you've got. Get your free download of the Get Started Guide today and get started loving your life. Find it in the description below.
Hello, beautiful. Welcome back to the Meant to Bloom podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Clarkson, and this is the podcast where we talk about all things motherhood, and it's really personal growth for hot mess moms. That's the simplest way of putting it. And speaking of which, I want to talk about laziness today because my eyes have kind of been opened a little bit. I have always struggled with laziness. I was called lazy as a teen, and I mean, this really, I feel like, is a big struggle for people who deal with anxiety and depression big time, is that we end up getting called lazy because on the outside, it looks like we are lazy, but really we're like paralyzed. Um, yeah, a lot of times something like decision paralysis or, just the overwhelmed so much that you physically can't get up and do anything. Like we've all heard that cliche of like, there's so many things on my to-do list that I just want to take a nap, right? Um, but I was just looking up right before we started recording right now, the definition of lazy. Because I was like, well, actually, maybe I'm wrong about lazy. Because I was thinking, like a lot of times when there's some kind of a word that has a negative connotation, I like to redefine it for myself. And I was doing that with laziness. And I don't actually have to redefine it because laziness is actually an unwillingness to work or use energy. And I don't think most of us, especially if you're a mom who struggles with this, I don't think we actually struggle with an unwillingness to work or use energy. I think we deal with a lot of overwhelm and it is paralyzing and it comes off looking lazy to the outside because it looks like we don't want to work. We don't want to get up and do the things, but we do. Um, so really, I want you to know that if you think you're lazy because you can't get up and do the things you want to do, you're not lazy. Absolutely not. According to the dictionary, that is not laziness at all. So rest assured with that. Take that to heart. Redefine, rewrite your labels for yourself. Okay. If you have any negative labels that are on you, especially in dealing with a time of stress and anxiety and depression, and it's keeping you from doing all of the things you want to be doing, um, it's not laziness. Laziness means you don't want to do anything. And I know us mamas, we work hard. We really do. And it's overwhelming. And we don't always get to everything we want to do. And we feel this need to feel, what is it? Like we just feel shame and guilt for resting when we are supposed to rest. We need rest. It is rest is a prerequisite to good work. If you want to do good, wonderful, big things in your life, you have to rest first. If you're going in for a job interview, you got to get a good night's sleep first. If you're going to run a marathon, you rest before you do it, right? I mean, yeah, there's training that goes into it. You don't just live this life of slothness and, just do nothing forever and then turn around and do it the next day. You got to train for it. You got to build up to it. But if you've been, an object at rest, you're going to stay at rest until an outside force acts upon you. You know what? It can be an inside force for us. We're humans. We have free will. We're not just inanimate objects. You could have an inside force decide, I'm going to start taking little steps to get out of this slump. All right. I've been caught in a slump especially recently because I had that depressive episode we've talked about for the last couple months. Um, I got used to just not doing a lot and taking advantage of every opportunity to sit. And a lot of that was, the depressed feelings, but it was also the overwhelm of like a growing to-do list of other things I wanted to do, but did not have the motivation to do. I did not have the energy to do it. I couldn't. All right. And so I started feeling like I was in this lazy funk. And I'm really glad that I didn't allow myself to believe it was laziness. Um, in the true sense of the word. I was not unwilling. Um, so yeah. Okay. Redefine the words that feel triggering to you, the labels you don't want to wear. If you redefine them or even look up the definition and see, does that word even actually apply to me? Um, and sometimes it's a symptom of something bigger. Like my perceived laziness, it was a symptom of the depression I was going through. And then that caused this low energy slump because that depression and how I was eating and behaving during that time, it threw off my energy cycle. It threw off my sleep cycle, so I'm not getting enough rest, and it threw off my body chemistry and my hormones because of how I was eating and how I was not eating, and it threw everything off, which made it harder to really do the things I wanted to do as soon as my brain caught up and was like, hey, we're in a good place. Let's tackle that to-do list. And then my body was like, well, we're not in a good place anymore. We have trashed ourselves this last month. Um, so it kind of takes a little while to recalibrate yourself. And you do have to kind of look at it as running a marathon, like you have to start with a little bit at a time. If you want to train for a marathon, you don't run 26 miles today. You don't run 13 miles today. You get out there and you run 1 or 2 miles, and that's it. And you stay at that for a little while and then you build on it. Right. But anyways, so yeah, think about tiny baby steps to get out of a slump. But the number one thing to take into this is drop drop the guilt about it. Okay. Give yourself grace in this area, in all areas, always. All right. If you understand why you're in the cycle or the pattern that you're in, and you understand that, like, I want to do the things that I'm not doing, you have that desire there, and you take the time to become self aware and to kind of analyze where you're at and look at your life from a new point of view and realize like why you are where you are and why you're struggling to get out of it. Give yourself the grace to not put morality on this for yourself, right? Laziness is not bad, especially when it's perceived laziness and not true laziness, right? If you are acting in a way that others perceive as lazy, but it's not actually lazy, um, you're just moving slow, right? You're unmotivated. If you're in a season of unmotivation, don't let it don't let it bring on shame and guilt, right? It's okay. It is normal to have an unmotivated season, especially as seasons are like literally changing and the weather is getting cold and you're wanting comfort foods that kind of slow you down and you're just wanting to sleep more because it's dark longer. That's normal. That is like physical body chemistry. That is your body reacting to nature, right? I mean, nature really starts to, just the animals all slow down right now. Like you are an animal. Human beings are no different. I mean, we try our hardest to separate ourselves from nature and, live inside a house that blocks out our natural sunlight and creates artificial light so that we can have day longer than it is and keeps us warm when really it should be cold out and we should be slowing down and bundling up and, saving our calories to keep us warm instead of, trying to lose weight. Um, anyways, we cut ourselves off so much from nature, but you have to remember when these natural instincts kick in, it's totally normal. Don't you dare let yourself feel guilty and ashamed for it. Like that's how you were physically created to be, is to slow down right now. And our society tells us that we need to speed up. You need to make more plans for big events and Christmas and buy stuff. And, you need to be saving money so you can buy all these gifts. And you need to take every weekend you have to go shopping for all of the gifts when really all you want to do is stay home and watch Christmas movies. Just rethink why you do the things you do and what's actually bringing you joy. And don't let yourself feel guilty for doing what actually feels good to you, right? So one of the best things you can do if you are getting out of these kind of slumps is to take those baby steps with just all of the grace you can muster up for yourself, right? Let it be okay that you're going slow because it is okay. All right. I'm going to keep it short and sweet today. And I'm going to let you know that I love you so much and I support you and I'm here for you. And I get it if you are unmotivated right now. I mean, my goodness, there's so many opportunities to feel guilt and shame right now. And I don't want you to hold on to that. I want you to do everything in your power to let go of any feeling of guilt or shame, especially when you're choosing to do less in a time that it's telling you to do more. Just do less. It's fine. It really is. Um, Especially with like the holiday seasons, we are really trying to lean into that this year, doing fewer things that are more meaningful instead of spreading myself super thin and forcing the kids to go to a bunch of stuff that wears them out and overwhelms them and they end up not having a good time and they end up fighting the whole time. We're really trying to pare back and just focus on family time over everything else. And I honestly believe that like blessing follows obedience. All right. Big blessings come when you let yourself be in, in a way that is intuitive, in at peace. When you allow yourself to be at peace and listening to that quiet voice that tells you exactly how you're meant to be doing things. Like honestly, we decided to pare things down and we decided to let a lot of things be easier and to not focus on giving big gifts and everything. And then blessing follows that. It really does because my husband just he just got our kids their big gift for the year, which was supposed to be $300. So we were on the fence if we wanted to get it for them. And he just found one gently used for $50 from a coworker. Like just we weren't sure we were going to get it because it was costing more money than we really wanted to spend. And then we found it for a fraction of the price. Blessing follows obedience big time. So let yourself be at peace. Let yourself get into that abundant mindset that everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to work out. Everything, everything works out for good in the end. It really does. Um, you are good. You are loved. You are important. Take care of yourself. Okay. Good things will always happen when you are taking care of yourself.
Hey, friend, are you feeling like you are struggling with this daily battle for your sanity? Are you feeling like you've lost yourself, like you're just in the chaos, like there's not a moment to enjoy yourself? Mama, I feel you. In June of 2020, I almost ended my own life because I was stuck in bad mental health habits. And I let everything get to me. I really did. I was making dinner and the kids were being really loud and I had not been taking care of myself, so I let these negative thoughts seep in and I convinced myself that I just shouldn't be there anymore. Luckily, I was saved. It's a long story. Long story short, I decided that day that I was going to make a change and I was going to do something different. And that took a lot of work and it took a lot of commitment. But what I did is I learned how to become mindful in my life. I learned grounding practices. I got into new healthy patterns. I started taking care of myself so that I could show up for other people. I started believing better things about myself. I started becoming worthy because I decided I was worthy. I stepped into the life that I was meant to be living because I fixed my mindset. I decided I wasn't going to be anxious and stressed anymore. I was going to do something about it. I took steps for proactive mental health. I started building bridges over those pits of depression instead of building ladders out of them. And I started avoiding those really terrible negative feelings. I stopped letting my negative thoughts about myself pull me down and hold me back. I started living the life that I was meant for. And I found my voice. I found my purpose. I carefully curated the life that I actually want to be living because I decided I was enough for that life. And all of these practices that I started putting into place, the mindfulness, the intentionality, overcoming negative thinking, overcoming stress and anxiety, using affirmations, getting grounded in gratitude, setting goals for myself. I started creating the life I wanted to live. And I took all of those exercises and I put those into the Happy Mom Brain. And I made it something that can help every other mom out there to find your sanity, to find yourself, to find your peace, to find your joy, to live the life you actually want to be living as a happy mom, because it's possible. As much as I thought that was an oxymoron back then, I have found that you can be happy in your motherhood. And a lot of it stems from knowing what motherhood is and what it means to you and what your priorities are, what's actually important to you in life. Mama, if you want the Happy Mom Brain, there's a link in the description. You can always go to brittanyclarkson.com/happymom or search on Amazon for the Happy Mom Brain. Love you, friend.